All of us face some horrifying moments in our lives. I guess this is the primary reason why we all seem to be looking for our safe positions. If you want to be safe out there, you must understand the difference between being uncomfortable and being unsafe. Uncomfortable is pulling off the road in the middle of nowhere and ending up at some rundown Appalachian motel. Unsafe is realizing someone tried to get into your room in the middle of the night and never knowing why. This happened last fall. I was driving from Asheville to Pittsburgh, solo. No real schedule, just me and my car. Around 9:30 at night, somewhere deep in the Appalachian foothills, my GPS rerouted because of a closed road. I followed the detour, which turned into a 2-lane stretch of highway with no streetlights and barely any signage. About 45 minutes in, I started getting tired. The gas gauge was dipping low and I hadn't passed a single open business. That's when I saw a faded, flickering neon sign for a motel. It looked old, the kind of place people forget exists, but I was too tired to keep driving. There were 6 units total, maybe 7. Only one had a light on inside. I parked in the gravel lot, no other cars, and went into the office. A middle-aged guy in a flannel shirt and thick glasses looked up from behind the desk. He didn't smile. I asked if they had a room. He nodded slowly, like I'd just woken him from a nap. Only one open is room 6. Last one on the end. He slid a brass key toward me. Not a card, a literal key. No smoking. Keep the curtain closed. That window doesn't latch right, he instructed me. I wasn't in the mood to question anything. I took the key, nodded, and walked to the last unit. The building was quiet. The room smelled like old carpet and disinfectant, but it was clean enough. There was a bed, a nightstand, a bolted-down dresser with a TV, and a small bathroom with cracked tile. The curtain was already closed, just like the guy said. I locked the door, set my phone alarm for 6 a.m., and climbed into bed. I figured I'd crash hard, but sometime after 1 a.m., I woke up. Not from a sound, but from a feeling. You know when your body wakes you up before your brain catches up? Like you just know something's wrong. The room felt different, the kind of stillness that's too perfect. I sat up and listened. Then softly, so soft I thought I imagined it, I heard the doorknob shift. Just a gentle rattle, like someone testing if it would turn. I froze. Fear engulfed my whole body. I stared at the chain lock. It was still on. I waited. Maybe a full minute. I didn't hear anything. I finally crept toward the door and peeked through the tiny peephole. No one. Just the glow from the buzzing lot light outside. I tried to shake it off. Maybe the knob stuck, maybe the wind. But there was no wind, not even the sound of trees. I double-checked the lock, turned on the bathroom light, and left the rest of the room dim. I wasn't going back to sleep, though. I sat on the edge of the bed, checking my phone. No signal, of course. At 2:12 a.m., the room phone rang. One ring, then silence. I didn't even move toward it. Just stared at it like it might ring again. It didn't. I got up, went into the bathroom, and splashed cold water on my face. I looked in the mirror. I looked exhausted. When I came back out, I stopped. The curtain had shifted. Just a little. Maybe a few inches. Enough that I could now see part of the glass. And I was certain I hadn't touched it. That thing had been sealed shut when I came in. I stood there, staring at it. Half of me wanted to go and check. The other half just wanted to pretend nothing happened. But I walked over, slowly. I pulled it back an inch. I didn't see anything. Everything seemed normal. The parking lot was empty. I let go of the curtain and backed away. I didn't look at the window again. The rest of the night I sat awake on the bed, watching the door. At some point I must have dozed off because I woke up with light coming through the curtain. Morning. Somehow. I packed up quickly. I didn't even shower. I just returned the key back to the office. The man from the night before wasn't there. Just a note taped to the counter that said, "Drop key in slot." As I was getting into my car, I noticed something. The curtain in room 5, the one next to mine, was open. I hadn't seen or heard anyone go in or out of it the night before, and there hadn't been a car in that space. The lights were off. The door was shut, but the curtain was open now, and I could have sworn someone was standing just out of view, like one step back from the window. I wanted to go and check, but then I just decided to leave and forget about the whole horrifying experience at night. I didn't go back. I got in my car and just drove off. I don't know what happened that night, but someone was awake, and they stalked me to the motel. Whether they wanted to harm me or not, it seems I will never know. I don't usually get creeped out by motels. I've stayed in plenty, some worse than others, during long drives to work. But there was something about this place, this Appalachian roadside motel, that didn't sit right from the very moment I pulled in. I'd been driving nearly 9 hours through winding mountain roads, most of it without cell service. I was exhausted, starving, and a thunderstorm was rolling in fast. So when I saw a hand-painted wooden sign for a budget lodge, vacancies, nightly rate $42, I didn't think twice. I just pulled in, parked my car next to the main entrance, and walked to the reservation area. It was one of those single-strip motels, maybe 8 rooms total, the kind where the front desk is just a window next to a bell. The office looked dark, so I rang. About a minute later, a man opened the door. Mid-60s, maybe older, thin, polite enough. He asked if I needed a room, then handed me a key without checking ID or asking for payment right away. Room 3. Other guests are already down for the night. Try to keep it quiet, he said. There were no cars in the lot except mine. I had parked in front of room 3 and walked in. The room was what you'd expect. Beige carpet, old pine wood furniture, a queen bed with a sagging middle. The TV was unplugged. There was a mini fridge buzzing just a little louder than it should. But I didn't care. I just wanted to rest. I locked the door, pulled the curtain shut tight, and turned on the bathroom fan for white noise. Then I climbed into bed. Somewhere around midnight, something unusual woke me up. The fan had stopped. Power out, maybe. The silence was thick. I could hear the rain outside, and something else. Movement. Not inside the room. Outside. Like footsteps on wet gravel. I sat up, listened. It stopped. After a while, I laid back down. Told myself it was just the heavy storm. A few minutes later, I heard it again, this time slower. More deliberate. Someone was walking back and forth in front of the rooms. Then it stopped directly outside my door. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I watched the thin strip of light under the door. It flickered slightly, like someone had stepped right up to it. Then, the sound of the footsteps were gone. No knock, no sound, just silence again. I sat there for a long time, just listening and hoping to capture any unusual movement. Eventually, I must have drifted off. The next morning, I stepped out into the misty parking lot and almost jumped because there was a second car parked next to mine. Beat-up silver sedan. Looked like it hadn't been on the road for a while, but it wasn't there when I checked in. I freaked when I realized that I was the one who took the last room. So, who was this new customer who came in after I took the last room? Who were they? Many questions rattled my mind. I walked over to the office to return my key. The manager was inside this time. He didn't look up. I thought that was a weird reaction towards a new customer. But as I was about to leave, I asked, "Did someone else check in last night?" He looked at me and said, "No, just you." I turned and pointed toward the car next to mine. "What about that one?" He walked over to the window, looked at the car, then back at me. "That car's been here for months. Belonged to a guy who disappeared a while back. Left his things, never came back for them." I freaked. I felt shivers run down my spine. I didn't respond. I didn't ask any more questions. I walked back to my car, opened the door, and hopped on the driver's seat. My car smelt and felt different. It's like someone spent the night in it. At some point, I felt like the passenger seat was reclined. I never reclined the seat, and I was the only one on this trip. I stood there for a second, trying to figure out if maybe the weight of my backpack did that, even though I knew it didn't. Then I glanced up at the motel windows. I saw someone staring at me from room 4's slightly stretched curtain window. He didn't move. Also, he did not reveal his full face. Just a shoulder, part of a jawline, and an eye. I had no doubt that he was watching me. Fear pounded on me even more when he didn't move or react in any way, when he realized that I knew he was watching me. I didn't wait. I got in my car and drove. I didn't even stop for gas until I was more than 50 miles away. I felt played, stalked, and inappropriately targeted. I still don't know who that person was. The one walking outside my door in the rain and watching me through the window in the early morning. But it was clear that someone checked in after me, and I don't think they ever left. I am pretty sure that the strange man stalked me to the motel that night. The thought of being followed by a stranger that night still haunts me to this day. There's a certain kind of quiet in the Appalachian Mountains that doesn't feel neither peaceful nor safe. The kind of silence in Appalachian Mountains is not the kind of silence you find in nature. It's thicker than that, like the silence is listening back. And seriously, the silence itself can horrify and haunt you for many more years to come. This is my true personal story that documents my horrifying experience in a motel deep in the Appalachian Mountains. This happened to me last year. I remember it really well, like it was yesterday. I booked a last-minute room at a motel in rural Western Virginia. I was passing through on my way to a client meeting in Roanoke and didn't feel like driving late. The place had okay reviews, small, off the main road, but supposedly clean and safe enough. It was called Mountain View Inn, which was funny because it sat in a ditch, and the only view was a cinder block wall across the street. I pulled in just before dark. 7 rooms, numbered 1 to 7, all in a straight line. There was one car in the lot already, a red pickup with no plates. It looked like it hadn't moved in a while. The front office was locked, so I rang the buzzer. A woman in her 50s came out, hair wet like she just showered. She barely spoke. just pointed to the clipboard where I signed my name. "You're in room 2, she said. "Key's in the door already," she added. I walked over. Sure enough, the key was hanging out of the knob. The room was stuffy and smelled faintly like old cigarettes, even though there was a no smoking sign above the dresser. I turned on the AC. It didn't start right. It rattled like something was stuck inside. But I brushed that thought off, telling myself that I was just tired. But then I noticed something else that seemed weird. The bathroom light didn't work, and the shower was stained pink at the base. But whatever, I was only there for one night. I locked the door, shut the curtain, and scrolled my phone until I started to nod off. Sometime around midnight, I heard the sound of a tap on the door. Not a knock, a single tap. Light, precise, right in the middle of the door. I sat up and just listened. The tap had stopped. I couldn't hear it anymore. I waited a full minute before walking over. I looked through the peephole. The hallway light was flickering, and for a second I thought I saw someone turn the corner near room 7, but it was too quick to be sure. I went back to bed, more annoyed than scared. Probably a drunk guest or someone checking if the room was empty, I thought. But then, 15 minutes later, I heard it again. Tap, same spot, only this time I stayed put. Didn't go to the door. Instead, I looked at the window. The curtain was thick, but I could see the outline of the AC unit below it. And I could also see a shape blocking some of the outside light from the security lamp. Like someone was standing there. I freaked. I didn't move. I didn't open the curtain either. I just sat there staring at it. Then the shape moved, slowly, like whoever it was just backed away, not in a rush, like they wanted me to know they'd been standing there, like they wanted to scare me. I barely slept after that. The next morning, I opened the door and saw a single cigarette butt on the welcome mat. It seemed fresh, almost warm. I swear it freaked me. I don't smoke, and I have never smoked in my life. But all my previous boyfriends smoked. Do you know what came to my mind at that very moment? An ex-boyfriend stalked and followed me to the hotel. I am not kidding. When I walked past the office to check out, the woman wasn't there. Just a handwritten note. Drop key through slot. On my way out, I glanced toward room 4, the one with the red truck in front of it. The curtain was drawn open slightly, and there were about a dozen cigarette butts in a little pile on the ground outside that window, right where a person might stand and watch. I freaked again, but I was already late, and I didn't have time to get closer and check out. So I got in my car and left. 2 hours later, when I stopped for gas, I finally checked my phone. 2 missed calls. I called back. A woman picked up on the other end. Apparently, it was the same woman who gave me the key to my motel room. Apparently, the customer in room 7 had disappeared with a few items from the motel room. So, she thought I saw or heard something unusual the previous night. I couldn't wait to tell her my unusual experience. She sounded really terrified. But she didn't have more words for me since I was just a random customer. But she said that they will investigate the matter. To this day, I strongly believe that an ex-boyfriend followed me to the motel, and I suspect Jim, mainly because he didn't like the way we ended things. I think he wanted to confirm my worst fear. He will always be close behind no matter how hard I try to hide. His memories just terrify me, especially when I pass by a motel in a lonely place.